Good Friday afternoon, evening, wherever you might be. Victor, how are you doing?
Always good.
Good. I'm pressing too many buttons and getting too many things popping up over here. It's been a quiet week. Has it been a quiet week for you?
It's never a quiet week. I don't remember a lot. It's been. I think I remember a quiet week somewhere around 2001. I think I've had it.
That would have been before September 11th, probably. So, yeah, it's possible. Ever since that day, nothing's been the same. Hi, my name's Darren. This over here is Victor, and we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And on Fridays when we're around, we just do the show and talk about all things AI. Oh, wait, is that what we talk about? That's what it feels like.
Officially, it's not all things AI, but I dare you to find news that are not AI now.
Well, there were a few things this week, but they're probably related to AI. One that will be glaringly obvious that it's probably related to AI. We did a live demo last week of me working on Claude Code specifically. And this week I've done more. It's a funny thing. Once you run out of tokens, in the subscription, once you basically get gated for a few hours, you realize how much it was actually doing for you.
It's similar, kind of like only after you fire a person from your company, you realize that how useful that person was, no?
Okay, so it's not so much that we fire them, it's like when they go on vacation.
Or they go on vacation, exactly. Kind of how production is down, kind of like how can we fix it? Joe is on Bahamas. There is nothing we can do.
That happened. So
private jet. I said the private jet.
and the analog for that is here. Just upgrade my account. Here's some more money. But yeah, I'll walk us through. I don't know that I'll show it, but I'll at least talk us through what I hit this week during that time when Claude was on vacation.
Okay.
For a couple of hours, and then what Claude did once he got back. Yes, I'm anthropomorphizing Claude.
You have the $20 subscription, right?
Yeah, roughly $200 a year. Yeah.
So how $200 a year exactly? How long can you work without before hitting limits? Kind of. I'm just curious.
It's hard to tell because it depends on what it's doing.
Yeah, of course.
And how much tokens. Like I've had some days where it was pretty much where it felt like I worked all day without any kind of problems. But then there were other days where after about 3 hours, it was done because of what I was doing. It's a little challenging. Let's put it that way. Especially once you get in a rhythm, it's like, oh, which was my story this week, which I'll talk about later. Karen, good to see you. Let's go and get into it so we can get to some of the stories of the week. Podcast this week was with Tim Beattie about the misconceptions and realities of DevOps, Agile, and leadership. It was funny. I had a conversation with somebody this week, not about the podcast, and his reaction to all the AI stuff is something we've talked about. Is like, it feels like we're going back to waterfall again with all the planning and trying to get everything done. Which I was like, I get it. It feels like it, but it's not. It's what we should have been doing all along.
Can I tell you something offensive?
Please do.
You started making thumbnails that I don't hate anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. It's the joys of Canva and me finally figuring out having to do, because again, all right, I'll pull covers back on this. My wife was going to start doing thumbnails for me this year. And of course, she passed. So it's like, okay, now I've really got to step the game up. So yeah, I'm trying my best. Still not great, but it's getting there. Better.
Yep.
Anyway, again, the episode's out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, and I'm actually in pretty good shape right now. I actually don't have to edit anything this weekend because everything I had has been edited. So that means I get to clean the toilets this weekend. That's what I get to do.
No. You already learned. You don't choose when you clean the toilets, Darren. You clean the toilets when you hit limits with Anthropic.
Well, that might be the new thing. It's like if it's a 2 hour limit, I can go clean toilets. If it's a 3 hour limit, I can go go vacuum the floors or something. Yeah, I need to write that schedule up. Speaking of limits, 134 is getting ready to come out. We had a post from Polark talking about the new alpha features. There's new alpha features, right? So let's take a look at
that you won't see them for 5 years.
Well, you won't see them GA for 5 years. But so add a resource health status to the pod status. Okay, that's good for device plugin, DRA.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable. Container restart rules to customize the pod restart policy. That one I like.
Yes.
That one.
Because that's probably related to we don't need restarts for everything anymore, right?
Well, imagine you're training an LLM with hundreds of pods running on pricey GPUs. Again, this is another one of those things, well, we need this. And because of AI.
No, you've been running it for a month. Right?
Yeah. File env source file key selector to add environment generator on the fly. And there's just lots of them. We won't go through all of them. Some scheduling ones. Asynchronous API calls during scheduling. Okay. Nice. Nominated node. Anyway. Go through, read this. 134 is coming at the end of August, I believe. Is that right? The date was here. Let's see. Yeah, August 27th.
Yeah.
So the fascinating 13 alpha features. Boy, it feels like this was written by AI, or at least helped.
You can easily find out. Search for space.
Okay, I'll do that. Space dash
minus
space.
Is that dash?
Oh, the M dash. Yeah, that's the M dash.
I don't know how you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's there, that's AI.
Yeah, it's here. There's only one of them though. I think. Let's see.
That's AI in unskilled hands of a person who did not yet create a prompt that says never use that.
Don't use M dash. Why? Okay, I've seen other people talk about that. Why is that?
Because it's almost like a signature of AI.
Oh, okay.
It's not necessarily that's bad.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that many people use it when they write.
Probably not.
Okay, so it's kind of, and AI uses it all the time. So it's probably the easiest way to discover, hey, was this written by AI or no? As if we don't know that it is. So we can safely assume now that almost everything is written by AI. But kind of, is there any? If it's without M dash, then we can say maybe it is. Most likely it is.
Okay, so I would go through if you're running Kubernetes and you're going to be going to 134, might be worth taking a look at this because some of these alphas may be good enough to just use.
Yeah,
like the health checking stuff, health status. Sure, that would be an easy one to try out.
To begin with, the way how promotions in Kubernetes are made, from alpha to beta, from beta to GA, it will literally never get to GA if nobody's using it.
Right.
Because that's one of the requirements to graduate.
Right. So anyway, 134, get ready for it. Another thing from CNCF, Cordon went 100, managing distributed infrastructure at massive scale, leveraging Kubernetes. So it's a meta plane. What? There was a phrasing, a super control plane. That was the phrasing I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
So Cordant is there. Have you dealt with Cordant at all?
Superficially only, so not experienced with it.
Okay. Anyway, just wanted to make a note of that. We were talking about, back to here, of imagine, wasn't the restart, or was it restart? It was restart. Yeah, you're running hundreds of pods running on pricey GPUs. Let's go to the other side of that. Amazon EKS adds safety control to prevent accidental cluster deletion. Gee, I wonder why.
There you go.
Agentic at its finest, if you will.
Agentic with the person who thought that actually running it in unsupervised mode is a good idea.
Yes. Now supports deletion protection, helping you prevent accidental termination of your clusters. When I saw this come out yesterday, I was like, this is somebody yelling about an agent went rogue and deleted everything.
Yeah, because, deleting everything, that was happening before agents, just to be clear.
Yeah, humans were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, but kind of, you fire that person.
Yeah.
How do I fire agents?
Yeah, especially if it's running inside of a pod.
How do I fire tools?
Yeah, I mean, how do you fire an agent that's running in a restartable pod? It's like you fire them and they come right back. That's
There you go.
that's this should have been there all along, by the way. I'm sort of surprised this wasn't there.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of items from Cloudflare. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I would recommend, by the way, all the links for today's show are already down in the description. I got them out today early. There wasn't a ton of news this week, but this is a very interesting post about reducing latency from 40 milliseconds down to less than a second. It's a very long post, and they go through and talk about the thought processes and how they get down to and what they ended up doing. So if you have some time this weekend or whenever, read this. It's a good study of, huh?
I'm definitely reading that one.
Just to understand the thought process. Or the other way to say it is take this, feed it into an LLM to summarize it for you, and then try to turn it into a prompt to make sure that. Did I say that out loud? I'm just making suggestions. It's a good read. And then also Cloudflare is Perplexity is using a stealth undeclared crawlers to evade website no crawl directives. And they talk about here how they tested for it. Again, so both of these Cloudflare are geniuses at putting out this type of content of here's the thing, here's what we did, here's the result.
Yeah. But I'm afraid that their big initiative is basically how do we prevent models from crawling and getting information.
Remember, they have a paywall now that they're selling.
Yeah. But the problem with all that is that you as a business, you cannot allow yourself not to be crawled by models, right? Because what are we looking at? That fewer and fewer people will be searching, more and more people will be finding information through GPT, Gemini, what's not. And if you're not in it, I'm never going to reach you anymore. That's what's happening, right?
That's the danger. And for me, this week, I mean, when I bought my Claude subscription, I went ahead and installed the Claude desktop just to have it. And wasn't really using it much until this week. And when because I was trying to chase down some ideas for work, not work type stuff. And I think I went to Google once, but I primarily ended up in Claude desktop.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was asked, because it wasn't like just a quick 5-8 word type query. It was a sentence or maybe 2 sentences to try to get what I needed out. So I went to Claude for that because I knew it was like, okay, I could type that into Google, but that doesn't seem right.
I mean, if we exclude work, which in my case, everything is happening to Claude Code, including when I need to find information online, on the internet. If we exclude that, if it's for personal use, I think that I'm now getting 100% of my information through Gemini on my phone, kind of like, just click a button, talk to it, explain stuff. I'm not Googling anything. Nothing.
It's interesting. Dan, I want to call this out. Did I see GPT-5 yet? I personally have not. Have you done anything with it yet, Victor?
Only superficially. I'm about to finish the task I'm working on, which I started in Claude Code before GPT-5 was announced. I'm about to finish the task and do the next one in Cursor using GPT-5. It's going to be painful for me to go to Cursor, but hey.
I tell you, once you get used to Claude Code working like that, it's hard to go there. So I will say, one of my coworkers, I saw a message from him this morning, just in a group, and he tried ChatGPT-5 against Claude. He's like, Claude, I had to go through a massage and poke and prod, and it was basically 10 iterations to get what I wanted. He says, I basically gave ChatGPT-5 the same directives, and it nailed it first time.
There we go.
So I think that's, I didn't put anything in because it was just announced yesterday, and okay, whatever. Some people have said that it's it's okay from a Chat GPT perspective, right? That's what's powering Chat GPT now. But that's not. I could care less about the chat side of things anymore. I mean, it's useful, but it's not really how I'm using AI.
If you watch the event yesterday, which was very underwhelming, as if they all lost every single last ounce of energy before that. Anyways, if you watch that event, you will quickly conclude that actually the main focus around GPT-5 is coding. Kind of that's their focus now, primary focus. They realized what Anthropic realized long ago, and that's that developers are the main customers of AI today.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily, just to be clear, not necessarily number of people. So there are more non-developers using AI than developers. But in the number of tokens spent, software engineers, right? Whatever you're doing, that's the biggest market right now, without a doubt, right?
Or
My
vibe
mom will
coders.
never spend, in a year, will not spend the amount of token I spend in a day.
No. But the vibe code, I mean, you're saying programmers, but I'm going to say product managers that really understand what they can get done with a clickable product. That's
Yes, I mean, but it needs to be somehow related to software engineering. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but because that product manager, if she's just kind of brainstorming idea, that's great, very useful for that person. But the real token usage starts with, okay, kind of like, here's my code, right? Analyze it, go through it, back and forth. That's what generates tokens, right?
lots of tokens, as I've been put into my timeout. Yes, a lot. But anyway, I would read both of these Cloudflare posts because they're both interesting in how they approached it. Automated code reviews came in on Wednesday from Claude Code. Have you tried this yet?
I mean, code reviews were already there, I believe. It's Claude Action, I think, is the name.
Correct.
This seems to be focused now on security aspect of it.
It's security, right? So you can just do /security review now in your prompt. And so here's what I found is the security review has to be on changes that are currently active in your workspace. So if you don't have any changes, it's going to say there's no changes here. There's nothing for me to review. So it's not doing an existing. It's just what are the changes. Yeah. So it has a comparison to make.
Yeah.
It works. I'll put it that way.
So I don't know for security specifically. I haven't tried it, but code reviews does a good job, better than Copilot, but not as good as specialized tools like CodeRabbit. CodeRabbit is just bloody amazing, right? What Anthropic has going for it is that they don't have to be actually necessarily best at everything related to software engineering, right? They can release easily second or third best way to do code reviews, let's say. And everybody's going to use it simply because my company is not going to buy me 17 different licenses for 17 different model providers, right? So if I'm already having licenses as a company with Anthropic, it doesn't make sense for me to use, let's say, CodeRabbit. I mean, I'm not trying to push them under the bus, but simply having a single provider that gives you everything, even if something is not the best, that's the way to go for companies, right?
That's the same with every tool in the past. That's nothing new. It's the same
but then
story.
we reached the point that actually, if you go a long time in the past, kind of like I'm buying IBM. That was always the response because IBM gives me a solution for everything I need, right? Then we reached the point that simply, okay, so obviously that's not happening. Kind of like, it's only one provider, but simply they cannot create great solutions for everything, right? And we ended up using a bunch of different solutions. But in case of AI right now, unless Anthropic messes it up, they have the key simply because every company is going to use it one way or another, right? That's the danger for GPT as well. Kind of GPT-5, by everything I heard, I don't have personal experience yet, is killing it. Will every company now change the license from Anthropic to GPT? Probably not, right? At least not overnight. Everybody's going to wait now. I'm talking about company level, not individual, private level. Now we're going to wait. Okay, so should we now switch to GPT? Kind of $1 million a year license instead of Anthropic, and knowing that very likely 2 months from now, Anthropic is going to come up with the model that's going to be much better than GPT-5, and then Gemini is going to come up with a model that is going to be better than both of them, and so on and so forth. It just goes in a circle, right? And you cannot chase what is this week the best.
I don't think ever in history have we been this whiplashed from tools. We'd usually have a year, maybe 2 years.
Even if I exclude, strange ones like coming from China, open source, only last 4 or 5 months, we got Sonnet 3.7 kind of killing it. That's better than anything, right? And then Gemini 2.5 arrived, and okay, so this is so much better than Sonnet 3.7. And then 4 arrived, and Gemini, no. We go with Sonnet 4. And now it's GPT-5. I can probably list 75 others that happened in that period of time, right? And we're talking about months, not longer.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on here. An open source asynchronous coding agent from LangChain was announced this week.
Very cool.
If you want to do that, again, LangChain's one of the big ones. So OpenSWE. An open source async cloud hosted coding agent connects directly to your GitHub repositories, allowing you to delegate tasks from GitHub issues or with our custom UI. This goes back to what you were talking about. Did you say CodeRabbit? Yeah, CodeRabbit.
CodeRabbit is for reviews.
Yeah. Reviews, right. But it's going to be these kinds of things that are going to be the specialties that some people will eventually buy into because they need it versus the broad brush. Because, my comparison is GitHub. I go to GitHub because I get SCM, I get actions, I get issues, I get, you name it. I get everything. Are they the best? Some are. Others are fine. And that kind of solution can get you a long way.
Yeah. But then, the question is, do people do what you and me did? We both got licenses for Anthropic API, right? Which we can use from Claude Code, but we can use from Cursor as well. You don't have to pay Cursor if you have API keys. Or do we go with Cursor? Becomes, in that context, very interesting because you can say, I'm going to pay Cursor, and then today I use Gemini, tomorrow I use Sonnet 4, and the day after that I use GPT-5.
So confusing. But anyway,
Yeah.
new from LangChain. JetBrains Kineto is a new thing that they're bringing to market. It is basically a no-code for website and apps.
Okay.
No code at all. So they're getting into the no-code space.
Very cool.
So we'll watch for JetBrains as they go through there. Jules was announced this
I
week.
feel that they should spin up a separate company, to be honest, because my brain cannot process that. Okay, so we are not talking about IDE now, right?
Correct.
And my brain cannot process it. I have such a strong association.
Yeah. And then we're just talking about Gemini 2.5. Jules, our asynchronous coding agent, is now available for everybody. Whoops, sorry.
Are you showing something on the
I
screen?
am
There
now.
you go.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I clicked off. Jules is now available. There's actually training here as well. Introductory. They have a Pro and an Ultra. If you are a student, a college student, you can sign up for a free year of AI Pro. Are you going back to school now? Of course, Pro is not going to be. That's the 5X. So that's effectively the Anthropic Max, right? Because Max is 5X, and then the other is 20X. I can't remember what the top level is. So the $100 a month is 5X from Anthropic, and the AI Ultra, the 20x limit is $200 a month. But anyway, actually, let's take a look at the limits.
I think that that $100, maybe $2 a month. That sounds a lot, but I think that that's a sweet spot for everybody.
I think so too, and I still think they're losing money on that. If you get somebody like what I was doing this week, I could easily burn through that.
But it's also depends who you are, right? If you are Anthropic, the inference cost is dropping all the time drastically, right? Now, if you're a cursor and you're paying Anthropic, then you can be easily losing money, right? They, not you.
Correct. I'm finding the plan, but then I can't actually select the plans. That's funny. A couple of things here. 12-factor agents. Remember 12-factor apps? Well, now we have 12-factor agents.
Okay.
And so you can read this, and it goes through these ideas. So own your context window. Yes. Own your prompts. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And all the other things. I thought this was an interesting take on an old story made new.
Yeah. I need to go through those.
And then the only tool I saw this week that was somewhat interesting, and because I haven't seen anything else like this, and it's like, well, surely this exists somewhere. It's called MCPFier. Transforms any command, script, or tool into a standardized MCP server that LLMs can use seamlessly. So like, I can create something for curl, and I give it the argument and get the current weather. So that's all I do. I just define a command.
Okay, kind of. It's declarative way to define MCP.
Yeah. Nothing totally exciting in that. But
I mean, it's exciting. Kind of. It's actually, to me, it's very exciting if you're starting. It's very exciting for the first month or two, right?
Yeah.
On the long run, I think that we will be building agents seriously. And for that, we will be using frameworks and code and what's or not, right? We will be vibe coding agents to that. It's more complicated than what that one seems to be doing.
Yeah.
But to get you started, I think it's fantastic. It sounds fantastic.
And to not have to write an MCP server, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And just wrap, if you just need this one thing, it's like you can test it. It's like, oh, okay, this is all I need. And this could be, again, this is sort of like when you first start learning how to pipe commands together in Linux.
Yeah.
And once you get beyond, it's like at some point that starts to break down. Maybe from maintenance or whatever. And that's when you start writing things. Well, that's sort of the analog here. It's like, okay, I'm just needing to curl this endpoint. I don't need to write a server for that. I just need something that allows me to have it in the format I need.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just shocked that it seems like we would have talked about something like this if it existed. And I can't remember if I've seen something like this or not.
No.
There was a Claude Code best practices. This is a different one than what I posted a few weeks ago. Just in case you're doing Claude Code. And if you're not, what are you doing?
Starting this week, you're probably not using Claude Code because of GPT-5. But mark my words, give it a month or two. You'll be back.
Yeah. And then your video this week was talking about MCP servers, just why most are useless. It's funny, why most are useless, and I'm looking here going, well, that's actually very useful to me, and it's only 4 lines of code. It's a 4-line YAML or 5-line YAML. This is great. It's like, but
it's a very long video.
It's a very long video.
Too long. I am not happy with it, to be honest. I think I went overboard.
Yeah, but that's okay.
First half. I'm happy with the first half, and then I went crazy.
Yeah. I will tell my story in a minute, but I want to get to this question that Saba sent back a few minutes. How can I officially manage container image dependencies, make sure that inherited images are rebuilt when their base images are updated?
I don't know of a solution to do it in one go, right?
I don't
would
either.
just assume that you are...
This is what ChainGuard does, right? ChainGuard has their own internal system around this.
I mean, that's first kind of like, it feels like a very big anti-pattern to begin with.
Yeah.
What do you have? An image that has a base image, but that base image is based on another image that uses some other image.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not supposed to be a container image, right?
Yeah.
Ideal situation. I'm not saying that you can get. It's a scratch image with
Yep.
nothing in
Yep.
your application, and then you go up from there until you, if that doesn't not work, until you reach the point where you say this is the minimum I need, right? So start from nothing, go up. At the moment it satisfies what you need, you're done. I'm sorry to say this, but I would place my bet that you're doing it wrong in the first place. Wrong question.
And your security scanners are probably going off a lot. And if you can get to scratch, the security scanners will probably go quiet.
I mean, security are dependencies of your code, right? Your code is or isn't having security issues, but then it's limited to your code and nothing else. Important.
So hopefully that helps. It's not a very joy happy answer, but I think it's the correct answer.
The important part is that, and I know that these images are not virtual machines. Repeat that 50 times. They're not.
Actually, say it again because I cut you out.
I mean, container images are not virtual machines. They're not operating systems that need whatever operating systems need. They're running on top of an operating system. They're putting the binary of your application on top of existing operating systems. So don't mistake container images for virtual machine images. They're very different.
Hopefully that answers the question. My joys and travails with Claude Code this week. So last week,
I've been waiting for this. I've been just trying to pass through the whole episode until we get to this part, and I'm so curious. Go.
So what I ran into was so last week we were doing some stuff on a Jenkins plugin, I think, and we were working on prompts and figure out, okay, how can we get the prompts, and just showed you how I was working with it. This week, one of the things you had alluded to is like, well, what if we just had our prompts available everywhere all the time? Mm-hmm. What was that movie, Everywhere All at Once?
There are a few more words in that movie, I think,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So I wrote an MCP server this week that its purpose in life is to only serve prompts. That's it. And the reason why I started working on that is I ran out of tokens one day. And I ran out of tokens like at 3 o'clock my time. And my window wasn't reopening until like 7 or 8. So I had 4 to 5 hours of outage for myself. So I figured, okay, well, let me go ahead and start on this MCP server thing. So I went out to Model Context Protocol out on GitHub. I'm using the Java SDK. The SDK's fine. Documentation isn't that great, but it's fine. And started coding it. And by the time my window opened back up, which was time for me to go make dinner, I was like, okay, well, I've got something running. It was fine. It wasn't great. So it was basically just trying to understand what all the moving pieces are. Mm-hmm. And from that point, when I got in the next morning, I had tokens. So I pointed Claude at the MCP server I created. I was like, because what I did is I had static prompts. So if you're a Java developer, if you're not, I was just loading in files from the file system.
Yeah.
Right. It was in source main resources. And I was just loading it from the class path and just doing it statically. Exactly. But I knew that wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to dynamically drop files on a file system, have them seen, and then load it up and made available through the MCP server. And again, I knew I wanted to pass in a directory on startup. If I don't pass in a directory on startup, just load in the static ones. That's fine.
So kind of prompts are not, in that scenario, not baked into MCP binary. Okay.
Nope, not at all. Now I've got some baked in there. So if I don't pass in a directory, it loads up what it's got baked in.
Okay.
Right? That way I can test it or whatever. But then if I pass in a startup parameter saying go to this directory, then it's going to go and look at whatever. Okay. Initially I started out with just a text file because it was a basic, couple of sentences prompt. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So then I wake up the next morning, I point Claude Code at my prompt that I had as a text file. It's like, go ahead and rewrite this into Markdown because I knew, I said, go ahead and expand it, make it better, make it to where you could do some more things. And I couldn't remember the word. I was like, but really what I want is I want it to be a Markdown file and I want to have a preamble on it, sort of like how a Hugo file is. Hugo is a static website generator. I called it a preamble. So it came back as like, well, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get you the Markdown files with the front matter, what you refer to as a preamble, like Hugo has, is what it told me. I was like, oh yeah, front matter. And it's like, it's like, which library should I use for parsing Markdown? I'd already asked that. I'd actually done that in Claude Desktop. It's like, what kind of Markdown libraries are available for Java? Common Mark, and there were a few others. And I went back and forth with Claude figuring out which one to do. And I ended up using Common Mark with an extra YAML processor to load in the front matter. Mm-hmm. Again, no big deal. And then once I got that, I went, okay, I want to go ahead and have you modify my program. Now I'm back into Claude Code at this point. Go ahead and go into my program that I started on yesterday doing by hand and go ahead and give me dynamic loading from the file system. And I want you to do it every 5 minutes. Just hold that thought for just a moment. So every 5 minutes, which sort of makes sense, right? Every 5 minutes, just check the file system, load up whatever's there.
Okay.
And I went back and forth, and it took a couple hours to really get what I wanted. And then, of course, I'm getting close to hitting limits again. This time it was only like 2 hours. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I got some other things I need to do. So I'll go off and do other work and come back in a couple hours. It's like, look, all this looks good. The problem I'm having now is whatever it was. I don't even remember what it is anymore. As fast as AI is changing, this is how quickly I'm forgetting what I don't remember anymore. because I've moved on to the next thing. The velocity I've got now in trying things and throwing things away is so much faster. So much faster. I mean, it's hard for me to even put words around it. It doesn't mean it's good, that I'll explain in just a few minutes.
You can validate.
I can validate things so fast. Yeah, so fast. So I get in this morning. Actually, one more thing. I get on Claude Desktop last night. And I'm asking stuff. It's like, you know what? I really don't like this timer thing. So I'm not in Claude Code. I'm just in Claude Desktop, just thinking. So now I'm trying to figure out how I'm using tools. So Claude Code is I'm really focusing on, okay, what am I doing while I'm in code? I go over to Claude Desktop when I'm trying to think through ideas. They're both using Sonnet 4 under the hood. I haven't changed the default models. And it walked me through an idea of, well, why are you doing scheduling? Shouldn't you just be watching the file system? Okay. It said it nicer than that. But I was like, that's not a bad idea. I was like, give me an example of that. So it went off and wrote an example. Okay, great. I said, that's a very interesting example, but why don't you just use the documentation at this for Java, for the Java SDK? I said, here's the documentation and here's where the source code is. I was like, oh yeah, let me go do that. And it rewrote the whole thing. And it gave me stuff that I didn't even know that has existed since Java 8. That's been a lot of years, by the way. I didn't know there was a file watcher that was available. It's just been out there, or maybe even Java 7. It's been a long time. But it's because it's something I've just never used before, right? So I didn't know it was there. So it told me. So I had it rewrite everything this morning. Again, no way I could have done this by searching in Google and even by just because that's not the type of coding I've done over time. So it got me to that point. I know what looks good. And here's the twist. So I had been using VS Code just to have it up and looking at stuff and whatever, right? Just to have the editor open. But I've got an extension inside of VS Code that's a Java related extension, well, things would get out of sync and builds wouldn't happen. And it was just weird. So I flipped over to IntelliJ's Community Edition. Again, because IntelliJ, Java, whatever.
Sure.
So then today, what I did is I'm going through, because IntelliJ editor in general is really great for Java. Just hands down. It's probably the best right now. So I'm going there and committing the changes that Claude has made. Again, I have not written a line of code yet. I've just been prompting and nudging. And it's like, hey, this doesn't look right or whatever. So today I'm in. It did all the refactor from doing the schedule over to the scheduler over to watching the file system. Again, hands down, works great. There's some pluses and minuses to that because the thing I was doing is I was doing it every 5 minutes on the fives. So 0, 5, 10, 15, whatever. Which is nice. That gave me a window when I was testing. I could just rename start it up, rename a file. It would come up, get loaded, whatever. The problem with Claude Code, I'm sort of jumping around here. The problem with Claude Code is when Claude Code starts, it reads them all in and caches them locally in Claude Code. Even though I'm giving it a notification that things have changed, it's not going to reload that cache in the client. So I have to come out of the client and come back in.
Because it's not really cache. It's all part of the context.
It's part of the context on startup, right? So that's what's happening. So I'd have to exit and come back in, and then it would have. Then if I do my / command, then it sees everything. So I had one last story there. Oh, so I was going back to IntelliJ. Well, the last thing I did today before we came in here was I was committing and it would give me warnings, just general warnings. Like, oh, it's not doing exception here, or do you really need this, or whatever the general warnings were. I'd put those into Claude Code and have Claude Code resolve the warnings. And there was one, it's like I didn't understand, okay, why is this even here? And Claude Code explained, okay, this is why, because again, Claude Code generated all that code.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm getting this warning. Why did you do this the way you did it? And it tells me exactly why it did what it did. I was like, oh, okay. And it gave me 3 options. It's like, we could do this, and it would be okay. We could do this, it'd be overly complicated and probably not what you want. Or number 3, don't do anything. Don't do anything, just leave it, right? Leave it as is. Yeah. And he explained it was doing some like sort of back off in case something, because it was in an exception handling, and it was sort of like think of it as a crash loop back off. It's like if it ever got into that bad state, you wouldn't want the CPU to be spinning. You'd want something to at least have a breath.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what I've got, and I have to be careful with how, because it will probably be open sourced. I've got to figure out which license because of some of the libraries it's using. They're BSD2 licenses. So again, I'm not a lawyer, so I've got to figure out what the right license is. If I can do it at MIT, I'm going to do it at MIT. But I've got to read and understand. It's in the Common Mark library, unfortunately. If it wasn't for that library, I'd be fine. Because this is the other thing. When I wrote the MCP server, it's like, oh, use Spring Boot. Use Spring Boot. It's like, I don't want to use Spring Boot. I don't need that much.
Because the whole internet tells it that Spring Boot should be used.
And it's fine. I mean, I don't have anything against Spring Boot, but for what I'm doing here, I've got there's an HTTP extension that's using Jetty, so it's wrapping Jetty, just sort of like how Jenkins wraps Jetty. I'm just wrapping Jetty as the HTTP server. That way, I can put Caddy in front of it. I can run as many of these as I want. It doesn't really matter, and let you pick whatever reverse proxy you want to use. I'll use Caddy here. And it just works. So now I'm having it write the prompts for the things that I'm getting ready to do. So I have a basic prompt. The one I'm working on right now is doing plugin modernization. A guy I work with, we did a series of like 12 weeks worth of videos on how to do plugin modernization a few years ago. And it's all documented on the Jenkins site. So here's how I did. It's like, I need you to write a prompt for me. We're going to name it modernization.md. It's going to be the name of it's going to be modernization. and go take a look. I said the root source of truth for documentation for you is going to be at this URL. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the sections part of that page and make sure every one of those 1 through 12 are covered. Now, even if you're not familiar with that page or anything else, I hope what I just said sort of makes sense. You could follow what was going on. Right? I'd have to give you the URL and I'd have to give you all those things, but even you, Victor, could follow that, right? So I gave it to Claude Code, and what it came back with was amazing in about 15 seconds. Now, I still needed to nudge it, and I've got to do some more thinking on it, but I could not have written a first pass in 15 seconds.
And that's I mean, there are many, many, many other things we should be thinking about, but that shows to me importance of really working on prompts, right? As long as you kind of keep iterating over it, eventually it will do the right thing. Right? It won't do the right thing from first try. Just as any application you wrote in your life was not the right thing from the first try.
Yeah. But if everything goes according to plan, there will be this MCP server that only serves prompts. That's its whole purpose in life. I hope to open source it soon. I can't guarantee it, but I hope to be able to do it.
Yeah, nice.
That way, it's just a prompt server at that point.
Yeah.
And then the reason why, because I was having this conversation with somebody else, it's like you're using Claude Code, MCP server. You're using Cursor, MCP server. You're using.
I was discussing it the other day with whom I'm not going to name. Kind of they're preparing kind of hey, within our company, we're going to standardize on those directories. I don't know, AI/prompts, AI/agents, blah, blah, blah. And then create a lot of links, LN, right? Soft links.
Gosh.
That go to .cursor /rules. And or it can also, there is a link to /Claude/commands and so on and so forth. No, MCP. Basically, I was recommending the same thing that you just explained. First, there are company-wide prompts that should probably be used by everybody. They are baked into that MCP.
Yep.
And then you have a directory, I don't know, AI/prompts. Just figure out the directory, and then it will load project-specific prompts that are not kind of common across projects, company, what's not. Combine those two, and there you go. Doesn't matter what you're using, Cursor or Claude Code or, I don't know, Windsurf, right? Amazing.
Yep.
And it's so simple. So simple. You can vibe code it. Now that you know what you want, you can vibe code that in an hour.
Yeah.
If you will start now from scratch, 1 hour.
Yeah. If I could do it in an hour. It's like, because I spent a couple hours doing it by hand, and because I was just trying to figure it out. Because there are, well, at least in the Java side, I didn't look at the others. There's a standard I/O, there's an HTTP. And standard I/O is just basically file handles. So I couldn't do anything. So I had to switch it over to HTTP. Well, I had to figure out how to get HTTP running. I figured I want to use Jetty anyway. And so that took a little while to figure out. But then that's when it was about the same time my tokens reopened. So that's when I had to vibe code the Jetty wiring for me. It's like, I looked at it and I'm trying so hard to not touch the code. Every time I'm trying so hard to not touch the code. I'm just trying to tell it what to do.
Exactly. And kind of over time, you become better at telling it, right? And the better you become at telling it through whichever means, the better it becomes. I mean, I still don't run anything unsupervised, just to be clear, but
no.
I have to write the code. I just need to provide further instructions.
I want to get to Saba's follow-up in just a second. I want to ask you a question. One thing that I'm trying to do is I want to burn my context as close to 1% as I can. Like before it compacts, right? Before the compaction happens.
Okay.
Right? But sometimes it's like, I guess I've got to start catching it before. I'm trying to update my Claude MD. right? Because I'm using that as source of truth for whatever's going on. So if I see that I'm getting close to compaction, I say like update Claude MD for where we're at right now, and anything else that I'm thinking about at that point. But one thing I've started doing is on session start, I'm also saying update Claude MD in case something's weird, like something didn't get captured. What do you do?
I don't care.
You don't
So
care.
no. I don't care about context that much, because the way I work is that I have a set of prompts. One is PRD create, and we have a conversation until we decide what is the PRD, right? Feature I want to work on or whatever, right? And it creates it as a markdown file in a specific directory, right? And then I have a second prompt. I call it PRD start, when we start working on that PRD, right? And it works task by task, kind of like one task at a time, whatever the task is. It can be one task, whole PRD, or 100,000, right? Whatever it is. And then I have a next prompt is PRD update progress or something like that, right? That basically when I'm finished on that with that task, it goes and updates that PRD. We made changes to the idea of that parts of that PRD. We made these strategic changes to the code, blah, 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 right? So that PRD, that markdown, is a living document of everything, including at the bottom there is actually a log with timestamps, right? So going back to I don't care about context that much, is that I can, as long as I finish a task, and I never have tasks that are kind of full day of work, they're relatively short, finish a task, I can exit or clear the context and start over on the next task, because that PRD, that markdown document, contains everything that really matters.
Right. So
right,
effectively,
and I finish the task. So yeah. I need to finish the task within the context. Sometimes it compacts, most of the time it doesn't, right? Because much of the context when working on that task is important. While working on that task, what matters for the next task is much smaller, right?
Because it'll read in the PRD as the starting point for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Which for this project, I haven't done a PRD.
Yeah, but think of PRD in that not being only the initial description of what you want, but it's a context. It's a living document that's being updated all the time, right?
Right. Which is going to be one of the things for that modernization thing I was talking about. Is its purpose in life is going to be to generate the up to 12 PRDs for the modernization process.
Yeah, but then you need to kind of keep updating it.
Right.
Because it's not only about the context problems potential, but it's also whatever your PRD is initially, it will be changing over time, right? Because you will not nail down everything you need from the get-go, right?
Right.
So ideas change, implementation change.
What was interesting, the other thing you were saying, and Saba, I promise when we get to your comment, you had timestamps at the bottom. That just makes me feel, that takes me back to the days of seeing PRDs or BRDs on the title page with all the revisions. Yeah. Is that effectively what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And also a part of that update progress, which is basically we finished this one task within that PRD, is also add and commit.
Right.
So each of those tasks updates the PRD in general, adds a log entry with what we specifically did for that task, and that log entry is tied to a specific commit.
Dude, I need your prompts.
You need my prompts, I know.
I need your prompts.
I know. And they're all in one MCP. You can use them right now.
No. So you've done what I've done, or what I'm in process of doing. Okay.
Yeah, I have MCP where I'm dumping a bunch of things. Yeah. There are many different things in it. Actually, that PRD system is actually the easiest one, because it's really, for now, it's only the prompts.
Right. So domestic base images are prepared for supporting proxies, local APT repositories, SSL certificates. Okay. Supporting proxies and SSL certificates, I'm down with. No multiple inheritance, good. I don't want to repeat the specialization in every image build process.
No, but why SSL certificates? Why would that be?
Why do they need to be there? Because that should be offloaded to Envoy,
Cert Manager,
Nginx, Cert Manager. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Because
no,
where
wait.
we are going now is that your image contains your code that contains business logic that
Right.
you codified and nothing else, right? Everything else comes from outside. Networking, storage, this and that. That's all outside of your image.
Right, because those should be handed to you. And the only reason why I would say you'd have images have certs on the inside is that you needed to have encryption all the way to the container.
No, but still kind of...
But that would get you to the pod, so the pod would already have...
I mean, pod is a collection of containers, and you can have sidecar. I mean...
The sidecar would... That way
or sidecar, but yeah.
The sidecar would give you the encryption on the... To the edge of the pod. It would just be inside the pod that it would be open.
Yeah. Even if you won't have to put certificates inside that container, which you shouldn't. And even if Cert Manager is not good enough, which basically is injecting certificates as files, you can inject them as a volume, as a config map, as whatever you want. Still, not in your image.
It shouldn't be baked. It shouldn't be baked.
No. Also, local APT repositories for what?
Yeah, again, it's like hopefully you're not doing APT install or APT update.
You might need to APT install. Now we can
on the
discuss
bake.
how you should while baking the image.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's about
But the final image you don't want.
No. Actually, your image should have APT. I forgot the syntax now. I haven't used APT for a long time, but basically I clean up everything.
Right.
So, right. Remove all the cache, everything. Right. So purge it completely, and just be left with the package that you really needed.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is that would happen during because that's the multi-stage build for the image.
Yeah. Even if it's in your own stage, it's still and also you should do those things like kind of apt install, blah blah blah, purge, all in the same line, same instruction. Otherwise, if you do apt install and then I don't know what, and try to purge the things you don't need, and actually those are still separate layers. It still ends up being part of the image, even though it doesn't look like it's part of the image. So
that's it. What about proxies? How about wiring in the proxy stuff? I'm trying to think.
I mean, proxies, isn't that what service mesh is, or networking, what's not?
Should be.
Give me an example of proxy.
Well, again, that would be, it's, I don't know. But to me, that would be a container level.
Either you are proxying incoming requests,
right?
Or you're proxying outgoing requests. And in both cases, that's happening outside of that container.
Should be. Right? That should be, the first place that should kick in is at pod level.
Yeah, pod level is a collection of containers, ideally only one. So, one is that your application itself, and then a bunch of sidecar containers, not necessarily technically sidecar, but it can be additional containers with additional things that application needs. But the application itself, an image of that application, that's your application, nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
It doesn't need to be infra. It just needs to be your application.
The whole struggle is precisely that with Kubernetes containers, we moved away from everything bundled in, let's say, binary, to only business logic and nothing else. Everything else is external, whatever that something is. Everything, literally.
Well, will that be it for today?
Now, disclaimer, I don't know the details of your situation. Maybe what you're doing makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't. Just without further information, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So we'll be back next week and for a couple more weeks. But then in September and October, things get squirrely really fast.
Yeah, I start traveling in September.
So September... I don't think we're here at all in September, maybe the last week in September, because I'm out, you're out. October, you're out, I'm out. So September and October are going to be light. So bring your AI questions. We'll try to answer them all because, we'll have all the answers for AI in the next few weeks. Right? Not.
We are not far from being able to truly replicate ourselves as
Getting
visual.
close.
So then we can start hosting. As long as we write script, we can host every week. As long as we write the script.
Gosh, we have to write a. That's longer. That takes longer.
No, we can use AI to write the script, and then
So-
AI to create a stream based on that script. Theoretically, it's possible. I mean, it will be. Even to answer your questions, if we somehow manage to dump everything we ever did, Darin, into some sort of database, then yeah.
We have 300 plus episodes of the podcast, and then however many of these that we've done. So yeah, we've had enough. The update on
it needs to go also through my channel, because in this channel I'm not allowed to swear.
Yeah.
So it's not really me. This is fake me.
That's fake you. The update on fiber is I have still not placed the order yet. I'm still trying to get with my network guys. They are swamped. So I don't want to place the fiber because I want them to run it to my rack, which means going up into my attic, and the phone company won't go up into my attic. So
last week you complained about my spotty connection.
Yeah.
So I churned $700 to buy a new mesh system.
And I
saw
a couple of video hiccups today, but not the audio's been fine. So in general, it's been fine.
I went for mid-tier. I saw that actually there are mesh systems that are $3,000. I'm not that rich.
Oh yeah. I don't even know how much I've spent. I sort of lost track because we moved in the house, and it's like I'm going to have a good network for the house, and I have a great network for the house. I don't even want to know how much I've actually spent. I've spent a lot. So anyway, we're back next week. I still won't be on fiber by next week, but who knows? Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you again next Friday.